is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. Well, the nights are getting longer and much colder, so it's time to heat things up a little by talking about a flamethrower guy. Meet Charbroil. This figure was released in 1988 with all original body parts. And it sure has a futuristic look to it, doesn't it? If I didn't know any better, I'd swear this guy was supposed to be part of Battle Force 2000. And yet, he was just part of the regular series. The color scheme is, eclectic, I'd say, but at least it's not loud. Though I have to wonder if all those metal parts are a good idea for a flamethrower guy. Seems like they'd conduct heat a little too easily. Charbroil came with some awesome accessories. Let's start with the helmet. Okay, this guy is just Ant-Man. Well, I say this, but I'm gonna be fair here. Back in the 80s, Ant-Man didn't look like that, but rather like this. So, for once, this wasn't Hasbro ripping something off. If anything, Marvel stole their design from him. He also came with a huge backpack that has a lenticular sticker on it, showing the inner workings, like you see on a Battle Android Trooper's chest. A lot of detail went into this piece, and it looks great. It connects to his flamethrower, another large piece, with a thick hose. The whole ensemble looks great. But it's also the only real problem I have with the toy. The hose comes off too easily from both the flamethrower and the backpack. It may have been better if it had been glued in. His second figure was released just a year later as part of the Night Force team. It's the exact same figure as the first, only with a new color scheme. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know I really like Night Force. So it's no surprise I really dig this toy. It looks great and appropriate for Night Force. And those were the only two toys Charbroil got in the original G.I.Joe toy run, though there were a few more down the line. One was in 2004, during Valor vs. Venom, where it was part of the Anti-Venom Task Force set, though he didn't appear in the movie related to that line. It's another straight repaint, this time to make him look similar to the other members of that team. And his original helmet is replaced with one of those generic ones they all got, though it does have his name on it. The toy is okay, I guess, but nothing that really wows me. The last figure I'll talk about is from the 2009 Rise of Cobra line. And no, he wasn't in that movie either, but he did make the toy line. Sort of. You see, while the color scheme does remind me a little bit of the original, his look is far more like that of Blowtorch, the original G.I. Joe flamethrower. It's especially apparent with the chest piece and weapon. So my guess is this toy was originally supposed to be Blowtorch, but was changed for whatever reason. And those were the toys. My favorite is the Night Force version, because of course it is. And while I don't really think there's a bad figure in the bunch, my least favorite would be the Valor vs. Venom one. With that said, let's move on to the character, starting with the file card. He's from Black Duck, Minnesota, which I only mention because Black Duck is a funny name, both to say and to hear. Black Duck. Black Duck. Though I suppose now I have to look up stuff about it. I have notes! So it turns out Black Duck is a real town with a population of around 700, which makes me wonder, how did they find places like these to put on file cards? Did they just throw a dart at a map of America and pick whatever they hit? The town, of course, has a giant statue of a duck, Paul Bunyan's duck to be precise, and also two statues of a smaller duck. I guess if you live in a town called Black Duck, you'd best embrace the concept. Well, I don't know about you, but I certainly learned something today. I wish I hadn't, but here we are. Man, that was one hell of a tangent. Let's leave Duckburg and get back to Charbroil. As a kid, his parents made him heat the water pipes in their basement with a blowtorch to keep them from freezing. Sounds fun? Also, an excellent way to actively raise your child to become a pyromaniac. In his teens, he got work loading coal into blast furnaces until he joined the army, where he asked to work with anything with open flames. Yup, pyromaniac. None of the other Joes want to be around him on the battlefield. The file card tries to blame this on the fact that he walks around with a tank full of jellied gasoline, so one tracer round would make everything around him explode, but I'm willing to bet it's because of my pyromaniac theory. Charbroil never appeared in the cartoons, so we'll have to skip that section and go straight to the comic. There's not much there either. He first shows up in issue 80 of the regular series, but that comic is more about promoting the Rolling Thunder and the Phantom Stealth Fighter than anything else. Hell, the issue is even called Rolling Thunder. He also shows up in issue 21 of Special Missions, where he's on a team hunting Cobra in the sewers of New York City. He, burns stuff. The only other thing he does is carry a tourist book about the Big Apple geeking out. That's the only characterization we get, but it is endearing. This guy is from a tiny town in Minnesota, with only a giant duck to look at, who's in New York City for the first time. Only in his case, he's also carrying a flamethrower. Now, normally, this is where I would wrap up. We've talked about the toys, the character, and any appearances in the cartoons and comics. But today, there's one more segment. You see, Charbroil was what I like to call a replacement character. Meaning he has the same role as an older toy that's no longer in production. In this case, he replaced Blowtorch. This happened a lot in the G.I.Joe line, replacing a character rather than giving them a new figure, hoping a brand new individual would sell better. That's why I'm asking the question, who was better? The original, Blowtorch, or his replacement, Charbroil? Well, I'll give Charbroil one thing, he has the cooler accessories. But overall, I'm gonna have to go with Blowtorch. He has a more classic look, which I prefer over the futuristic one his replacement has. And that was Charbroil. He had some cool toys, but as a character was underutilized. I mean, time and time again I've said in this review that he didn't appear in this cartoon or this movie, and he barely showed up in the comic. I wish there had been more. But hey, at least we all learned more about Black Duck, Minnesota. And isn't that the real reason you watch these videos? It really isn't, is it? Oh well, at least now you know why I picked this week's theme tune. And it's gonna be stuck in your head all day. You're so welcome. Well, see you next time, everybody.
Might solve a mystery.